And so with Climate 10X in mind, what's a bit about your professional background, Eleni?
So I'm a bit of a generalist. I have lots of different interests. One of them is climate and sustainability, energy and resources, agriculture, food systems, all of that kind of stuff. So it fits really, really well into climate. I started off in entrepreneurship working with researchers at Imperial College in London. And I found I really enjoyed that, really enjoyed being on the cutting edge of science and innovation. That's kind of where I've ended up here as well, like in a sweet spot between the cutting edge of science and innovation and using that to make some change in the world.
And so the UNSW 10X Accelerator helps people to start and grow new companies. When it comes to the Climate 10X stream, what's special and unique about that?
In terms of climate, I think the most amazing things and what's unique about us is that we have the backing of people like Trace and Virescent Ventures. And we're also at UNSW, which is one of the kind of hotspots of research excellence and innovation in renewables. So we've got all of that amazing, fantastic scientific knowledge. We've got the Trailblazer for Recycling and Clean Energy, which is a $280 million government and university and industry funded collection of projects that aim to increase R&D and commercialization in these areas. We've got the backing of that. I can go into more about that later. And we have amazing partners in Virescent Ventures who are a exclusively climate tech VC and kind of have that same values and mission with us. So we've got this super amazing network. And of course me, your resident grid nerd.
Excellent. One of the things that's comparatively hard about growing a climate tech company in Australia versus the EU or the US is it's a little harder to convince some of the investor community or the customer community to adopt something that's first of kind.
Yeah.
And then often with a climate tech product, you might be doing several first of a kinds as you scale up to prove you can do something at scale. When you think about how this coalition we've created between the universities of UNSW and Newcastle through Trace, we've got Virescent Ventures, the founders program at UNSW. What can this constellation do to kind of help people be a little bit more competitive in a global sense?
I mean, by virtue of having us all there, I think the startups have a little bit more credibility, which I don't want to take away from the startups. They're fantastic. And usually because we're looking at full startups at a certain stage, they've done so much work like themselves already, and they've done really well. But yeah, I think it is an extra added layer of credibility, the added layer of having the connections. So between Virescent and Trace, and we spend a lot of our time making those connections with investors or with industry ourselves, both in Australia and globally. We kind of set that up so that we can do those referrals and give warm introductions. And and we talk about the startups. I mean, we talk about them like I'm talking about them today. You know, bring them up in conversation.
Is Decrease if they're inviting their customers to let them tinker with existing diesel generators and say, hey, we're going to monkey with this so it can use hydrogen. That comes with a certain amount of risk. But having the university validate and say, actually, this is based on really solid scientific research. Yes, there are some unknowns, but you should really give this a shot. Kind of helps with the credibility. When it comes with people applying for Climate 10X, what are some of the misconceptions or things where people might not apply when they should?
Yeah, I think one of them, I think the biggest one is probably that we're only for UNSW students or staff. That's not the case because we have Virescent, who is obviously a national investor, because we have Trace, which is a national program. We are open nationally. The program is offered hybrid. People are required to come in to Sydney maybe a couple of times throughout the program. But I think the level of investment we give is enough to cover the tickets, just.
And what is the investment through Climate 10X?
So it's up to $330,000 for each startup this year.
And roughly what are the terms of that investment?
So we have two kind of sets of terms. So the first set of terms, probably for later stage companies, is that Virescent are offering a safe of $300,000. The first $120,000 of that is given at a valuation cap of $1.5 million. The remaining 180 is uncapped with an MFN and a 20% discount. The UNSW safe is $30,000. Given that those original terms of a val cap of 1.5. And then for the earlier stage startups, it is, this isn't even UNSW, Trace. Trace gives 120,000 to two startups at a val cap of 1.5 as well. And that's just to match the other one, or the base level of the other one. The idea of that actually, it was so that we could support a greater range of companies. So depending on what comes through, we don't have this kind of preconception where each startup has to be at exactly the same level of, everything. And there are so many different elements that go into a startup. So where some of them maybe don't have as much development on the tech side or on the commercial side as the others, we can kind of balance that out, and we can still have them on the program. We can have them learning from each other, and they kind of just get a deal commensurate with the stage of the startup.
And for those that are planning to apply, any tips for how people can make their application stand out?
I don't want to say all the cool tech, but it is kind of all the cool tech. Look, I think the best thing, so we're looking for the later stage teams, are really looking for some sort of traction. So to really stand out, I'd go for including lots of examples of what you've done so far as a startup, right? So that might be, 20 letters of intent, which would be amazing. Or, you've signed on 2 customers or 2 people and are in the process of setting up pilots or something. Or, I don't know, you've done, X amount of market research, but really good, detailed, strong data in that kind of sense. In terms of the team, we are looking for a really good team. It doesn't necessarily have to be that, you've got someone from, Deloitte on your team or whatever. That doesn't have to be the case. It just has to be quite well-rounded. You have to be working really well together. And I think this is something that is probably maybe overlooked, actually. This is a pretty big one. And we do ask questions about how the team works together and if they're going to have longevity. So definitely being prepared for us to be okay, how long have you known each other? What happens when you disagree? All of this kind of stuff. I think those are probably the 2 biggest things.
Yeah, I think any application that can show evidence of uncontrollable outcomes.
Yeah.
Where you've asked a potential customer or partner to incur some sort of cost to interact with you.
Yeah.
Because even for some companies, going through the internal process to sign off, even if it's a not legally binding letter of intent, it shows they're willing to incur some cost.
Exactly.
And that's evidence that actually validating the vision for what you think you can help them with.
Yeah. And I mean, one of the strongest applications last year had their letters of intent were really well structured in that they could convert them into sales essentially, or convert them into leads that would eventually become sales. So that was really good. And I think the only other thing, obviously, I'm stating the obvious here, but we're looking for really big emissions abatement. So we're looking for big numbers on that.
And what about post-program? What happens when Climate 10X is over?
We push them out onto an ice floe. No ice flows. No, we keep supporting them. I mean, so we have Best Day on our team, who is super fantastic, and she is she's our investments and portfolios manager here at Founders. So between her and myself, we keep supporting the startups. We put them up for opportunities. We help them if they're going out for a round of investment. We are there as the sounding board. We have different, we provide a lot of support. Sometimes we have we do landing pads as well. So we have support for going global. We don't kind of just leave them with nothing. As an example, I've spoken to, I'm about to send out an email to the startup saying, hey, we have this thing coming up, this expo. Do you want to be a part of this expo?
Opportunities to be in the spotlight with the credibility of UNSW. These are some of the types of things that will be kind of post-program opportunities.
Exactly.
Fantastic. Any final thoughts or advice to anyone considering applying to Climate 10X?
Come and have a chat. My door is always open. I'm super friendly most of the time, not in the morning, but anyway.
Book an afternoon chat.
Yeah, book an afternoon chat. That's it really.
Thanks, Eleni.